But I think there are 2-3 things that's leaped out at me about Ratan Tata. And the first thing is that he never thought he's running the 100-meter race himself. He thought he's a marathon runner where he's running his laps. He has taken the baton from somebody before and he's going to hand over the baton to somebody after. And the baton must be better.
Moving on further now, if you have spent like 17 plus years, right, with Ratan Tata sir, and he's the person who hired you into Tata Group, and we want to also learn from your experiences with him. Aapki life mein, and I know you have been sharing, and we're all sad with what happened, but it is important that we learn the lessons with this great man. So, aapke kaun se memorable experiences unke saath the with Ratan Tata, which you want to share with us?
Well, I don't want to go into a huge charcha and analysis of his strengths and weaknesses because I'm not writing his confidential report.
Absolutely.
And it's of no use anyway if somebody had to write it. But I think there are 2-3 things that's leaped out at me about Ratan Tata, and I have really thought about it after his passing away because you tend to think of somebody, you take it for granted this person is here and then suddenly the person is not there. The first thing is that he never thought he's running the 100-meter race himself. He thought he's a marathon runner where he's running his laps. He has taken the baton from somebody before and he's going to hand over the baton to somebody after. He has to run his laps well and the baton must be better condition when he hands it over than when he took it over. Very few CEOs think of themselves as relay race runners. Most of them think they are in 100-meter sprint. हमारे टाइम में हम इस वक्त बने वहाँ पे हम निकले, मार्केट कैप इतना बड़ा, मार्जिन इतना बड़ा, सेल्स इतना बड़ा, कंपाउंड ग्रोथ इतना हुआ, मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन इतना बड़ा.
It's like quite a lot of short-term view.
Well, they don't think it's short term because they think, I've made the same mistake by the way. I'm not blaming other people. I'll say, oh, when I took over this job, the sales was 100, मेरे जाते जाते 200 हो गया है.
Yeah, you think
But
that way.
आपके आने और जाने में इतना छोटा सा समय है कंपनी के इतिहास में, समाज के इतिहास में, कि क्या फर्क पड़ता है. Whereas if you go with the attitude of a relay race runner, कि मुझे ये कुंजी दिया गया, इसको लेके मुझे भागना है
और आगे वाले को पास करना है
और उसकी वैल्यू ऐड करके इसको और थोड़ा शाइनी करके और थोड़ा रिच करके दूसरे को देना है और फिर मैं निकल गया, इतिहास हो गया. So that is one very good thing about Ratan Tata, which I think. The second thing that I think is worth mentioning, he carried on the tradition of Jamsetji Tata and Dorabji Tata and J.R.D. Tata. See, the great thing about some of the Tata leaders is they always recognize that they can't do it by themselves. And they never, I don't know what they felt in their own mind, what ghosts they had, but I'm not a privy to that. But if they had to recruit people who are better than them, they recruited. So Jamsetji Tata said, मुझे steel के बारे में क्या मालूम है?
Hire the best men in steel.
So get the best men in steel. He said, I don't know how to run a textile mill. So he hired Barjurji Pasha. And Dorabji Tata did exactly the same thing. J.R.D. Tata brought Darbari Seth and Nani Palkhiwala and
And he started TAS, the program itself, to
TAS
groom
program.
talent. Yeah.
So, and Ratan Tata did exactly the same thing. So, while all the credit goes to the chief, which is fair enough because the blame would have gone to him also, this truth is that all of them recognize कि ये एक जन का काम नहीं है, मेरे पास अच्छे साथी होने चाहिए. साथी हो तो मतभेद तो हो ही जाएगा. That's part of life.
Yeah.
You can't be married and not have a difference of opinion with your spouse. That's
It will happen.
It has to happen.
And
it's
that's
how
when the
you
love
handle
is,
that matbhed that makes the difference to the marriage. If you say my way or the highway, it goes one way.
Yeah.
If you say, ठीक है बेटा, this one I'll give in and the next one you give in, then life moves on. So they were great leaders because they were the leader of leaders. This rarely happens in many companies. To be a leader of a leader means you must be humble. Because each one thinks he's a leader. So you see this in politics all the time. Everybody wants to become the occupant of the gaddi. But we are not into the talking of political leadership, we're talking of corporate leadership. And I think it's very important to understand that the jump in the skill level required to become a leader and becoming a leader of leaders is a huge jump. And Ratan Tata was very good at that. There are many things I can go on and on when you worked with a man 17 years, but these were two qualities. He was a very humble person. He was never in the mode of मैं टाटा हूँ, मैं फैमिली का हूँ, मैं यहाँ का मालिक हूँ. It was always, and that is a
But
very
Gopal
good
sir,
quality.
just like he is a pioneering businessman, right? He was also a great leader. Like he hired you and some of others, and he was also very, from a philanthropic perspective, like even now opening up so many cancer hospitals in large, or what he did during COVID, I mean for the society in general. Do you consider that one is being humble and taking along team, these are the two qualities which served him, or is there any more which, the learnings which, or the qualities which you picked up? Say some people may say some other quality, but आपके लिए और क्या quality resonate
Ratan
हुआ?
Tata followed, now the words are mine.
Yes,
He has
it's
never
your-
told me this himself. But he followed the principles of Zarathustra and Vedanta.
Can
in
you sir
conducting his
elaborate
life.
on that?
So what did Zarathustra say? He said, Huma Hukta Harsta, which means good words, good thoughts, good deeds.
Good words, good thoughts and good deeds. Okay.
Right? There's nothing, I mean, हर धर्म में ये बोलते हैं. But you go to any Tata office, you'll find that Zarathustra's एक logo होता है, Huma Hukta Harsta. Good words, good thoughts, good deeds. रात को चैन से सो, दोबारा आके repeat. And I say he followed the principles of Vedanta. I just told you the 4 principles.
Yes.
That's what he did. Become self-aware. मेरे शत्रु मेरे अंदर हैं, बाहर नहीं है. Protect the resources. हमारे पास इंसान लोग काम करते हैं. इनकी भी
Absolutely.
families हैं.
Like what the entire Tata did in either in Jamshedpur or even everywhere they went. I think that is itself is the testimony.
And then serve others before serving yourself. एक दिन I remember in one of our young managers meeting, somebody said, "Sir, India's richest men में आपका नाम कभी आता नहीं है. हम लोगों को इस पे अफसोस है."
अच्छा, दोनों ने रतन टाटा सर को बोला.
रतन टाटा को पूछा.
Okay.
I was sitting with him.
हाँ.
कि हम ABC XYZ का नाम सुनते हैं, लेकिन आपका नाम कभी आता ही नहीं उसमें. और हमको लगता है कि आप इंडिया के कैपिटल बिगेस्ट कंपनी हो. ही सर ये बहुत भगवान की शुक्र है कि मेरा नाम उसमें आता नहीं है. मेरा नाम कहीं उसमें आ जाता तो मेरी क्या औकात है कि उसमें मेरा नाम आ जाए. जो कमाई हमने आपसे लिया है वो कमाई हम आपको वापस देंगे. समाज से लिया मैंने कमाई. मैंने ट्रक बेचा तो ट्रक ऑपरेटर ने लिया. मैंने साबुन बेचा तो साबुन की कस्टमर लिया. तो उनकी जो जायदाद है वही घूम के वापस जाना चाहिए. सो वी आर स्ट्रक्चर्ड फ्रॉम द टाइम ऑफ जमशेद जी दैट ऑल 66% ऑफ आवर प्रॉफिट गोज बैक टू सोसाइटी. तो मुझे मेरा नाम क्या है उसमें कोई अंतर नहीं है. अच्छा है. Serve others before you serve yourself. And of course the last point about compassion. There are too many examples including animal hospitals and so on.
Yeah.
So it is the important thing to remember that his predecessors did the same thing. See, today we are talking of Ratan Tata because we don't know the predecessors.
Yeah, actually, I will be honest. When I read the entire book, Jamsetji Tata, then I read about like 150 years back also the same principles were there.
Exactly.
Sir, Dorabji
This is
Tata
what I
also
mean
did
by
the same.
saying जो आपकी सभ्यता है वहाँ पे आपके पैर होने चाहिए. Your feet must be locked in your roots. नहीं तो आपके सर को आप उठा नहीं सकते.
Yeah.
उड़ जाएंगे. तो using your past culture and principles and continuing them and improving them so that your successors can do it better is what it's all about. And Ratan Tata was a very good example of that.
एंड आपके फेवरेट मोमेंट्स उनके साथ कुछ टाइम, लाइक यू शेयर्ड कपल ऑफ एग्जांपल्स, उनसे लोगों ने क्या पूछा? One or two examples.
There are many, you know, when you you go every day to office and
yeah, every day कुछ ना कुछ तो होएगा ही.
कुछ ना कुछ तो होता ही रहता है. But just to mention a couple of very small, insignificant things, but they matter a lot to me. When I wrote my first book, जिसकी आपने भी चर्चा की,
Bonsai Manager. And that was your first book.
That was my first book.
वो तो मैंने first management book पढ़ा था, तो it was first for me as well.
It was also my first book. तो जब पेंगुइन अप्रोच मी एंड सेड, यू नो, आपके पास मसाला अच्छा है, आप किताब लिखो, मैंने कहा या मैं लेखक नहीं हूँ.
Is it?
Yeah, I was never a writer, and so they said no, we'll help you and all that. So I sat down. 2-3 साल लगे उसमें, मैंने लिखा, फिर उन्होंने उसकी एडिटिंग वगैरह करके, they said, can we get a foreword for this from some important person? So I said, I'll ask Ratan Tata. But मुझे my ghost inside was telling me, रतन टाटा इतना बड़ा आदमी है, फर्स्ट टाइम राइटर को क्यों सपोर्ट करे, उसका नाम जो है.
बट वो तो आपका, so he was your boss, right?
Fine, but you don't do everything. You know, it depends on how you feel about it. So one day we were in some conference, वो आके मेरे पास बैठे, तो मैंने कहा बॉस मैंने ऐसे ऐसे I have written. He said, provided I agree with what's written in the book, I'll be happy to write a foreword.
Yeah, of course. It needs to be agreed with.
So he took the manuscript, he read it, and then he wrote the foreword for the book. Now he took a bet on a first-time author. I might be his colleague, but I can write a terrible book. You know, that's entirely.
He would not have written forward for that.
But he was kind enough to write, and then after that, my writing career just took off. Not because he wrote the foreword, but I'm saying it's an act of kindness. To say that if he said I don't write forewords, or he could have said
I'm busy.
I only write for people who have already got some books in the market, they would have been perfectly acceptable. So the second is not directly related to Ratan Tata, but up to Tata, I would say. I was getting back home. I'm telling you stories that nobody else will tell you, because these are not in the public domain.
Yeah, these are like your personal moments, right?
So I was in service at that time, and so my driver had the Tata Epaulets, and he was driving my car.
अच्छा, with everything.
All the paraphernalia. And मैं गाड़ी में बैठ के अपना मोबाइल पे कुछ कर रहा था. ये कोई 10 साल पहले की बात है. तो the हवलदार stopped my car, and my driver went and he said, some dispute, red light jump किया. And my driver came back a bit agitated. And said, देखो साहब ये हमको चलान कर रहे हैं, बोल रहे हैं कि मैं I never. So the हवलदार से देखिए मैं वहाँ पे ड्यूटी पे था, आपने रेड लाइट क्रॉस किया है, तो मुझे 400 रुपया का कुछ चलान करना पड़ेगा. So in those days it was not digital. You had to pay the money or something. Otherwise गाड़ी को आके आप वहाँ से ले जाओ. So I said, देखिए आपने जांच के लिए, निरीक्षण के लिए वहाँ खड़े थे, और ये गाड़ी चला रहे थे, मैं कुछ और काम में व्यस्त था. अगर आप कहते हैं कि ये किया, वो कहता है नहीं किया, तो मैं आपकी ही बात मान जाता हूँ, मैं आपका फाइन दे देता हूँ. He said, आप टाटा में काम करते हैं क्या? मैं सर हाँ, लेकिन उसका इससे क्या ताल्लुक है? He said, आप टाटा में काम करते हैं तो हम आपसे फाइन नहीं लेंगे 400 रुपये.
ऐसा क्यों? ये तो it is unique.
It is very unusual. So I said, हवलदार जी, मेरे ड्राइवर ने क्रॉस किया, आपका काम है उनको फाइन करना, आपने फाइन किया, टाटा से क्या मतलब है? He said, मैं आपको एक छोटी सी कहानी बताऊँ, मेरी ट्रैफिक इज हेल्ड अप.
मतलब आपके पीछे सारी गाड़ियाँ खड़ी हैं.
Right here in बद्वार पार्क. I said, what happened? He said, साहब 20 साल पहले की बात है, मैं फल्टन रोड पुलिस स्टेशन में काम करता हूँ. हम लोगों को हर साल मौसम जब खराब होता है, मानसून आ जाते तो रेनकोट मिलते थे. वो सरकारी कोई प्रोसेस है. एक साल 20 साल पहले हमको आया नहीं, कुछ डिले हो गया, और बारिश खूब लगी.
हाँ एग्जैक्टली, बॉम्बे में तो यू कैन नॉट.
तो आपके टाटा वाले एक बंदे आया था कि आप लोग इतने मायूस क्यों? हमने कहा कि यार हमको रेनकोट नहीं आया. ही क्वाइटली वेंट बैक एंड ही केम बैक विथ 3000 रुपीज़ और समथिंग, एंड ही सेड आप लोग खरीद लो एक छतरी. We said, आपको क्या हुआ, हम मानसून में भींगे हैं कि नहीं भींगे? He said, आप भी इंसान हो ना? So he took 3,000 rupees of Tata money, must have persuaded his bosses because there's no voucher, there's nothing, the process in a big company. And he gave it to us within about 3-4 hours and said, buy yourself an umbrella each. मैं उस वक्त से सोच रहा था कि ये कौन है, इस बंदे का नाम भी मुझे मालूम नहीं है, लेकिन टाटा में काम करता था. तो मुझे लगा कि मेरी भी कोई उसके ऊपर
कंपैशन है.
And आज मैं चुकाना चाहता हूँ.
Absolutely.
He didn't charge me 400 rupees.
See, there's so many numerous stories. So I'm married in a family who grew up in Jamshedpur. तो वहाँ पे भी numerous stories हैं on from so many years on Tata, an entire compassion, and which is great. कि Ratan Tata also carried it along, because sometimes in the pressure, right, profits का pressure है, sales का pressure है, someone can change the course, but he did not. I think that was the point which you mentioned. He stayed on to those principles.
That is very important. Very important. It's great to have good principles, but to be consistent with your principles is tough. Even in an individual personal life. In your, forget about companies.
Yeah.
Even in an individual. इस बार झूठ बोल लूँ तो थोड़ा, इस बार घूस दे दूँ तो मेरा ये हो जाता है,
Yeah.
But it's very tough. And I can't say everybody is blameless. But if you try to be as blameless as possible, that's a virtue.
Great. So what are the key lessons apart from what you mentioned? Is there anything else which young people should know from either his humbleness, from his value systems, from principles, from Ratan Tata? What would be your 1 or 2 key messages on that?
देखिए, young people को मैं इतना ही कहना चाहता हूँ कि ज़िंदगी में ये जो पीस हमने लिखा है किताब में, कोई असूल होने चाहिए, प्रिंसिपल्स. कोई आपका नियत होना चाहिए. व्हाट इज़ योर ऑब्जेक्टिव? हर एक को तो नौकरी करना है, कुछ पैसे कमाने हैं, पेट भरना है, इसके बाद क्या करना है आप? सो हैव सम फिलॉसफी. लेट इट नॉट कम व्हेन यू आर 21. आई डोंट एक्सपेक्ट इट. बट एज यू आर वर्किंग योर वे अप, think of why you're doing this and what you want.
Why you have been arrived on this planet. And I think it's a reflection time. Like, what's a legacy you want to leave behind?
Exactly. And then perseverance. कि जो भी काम करेगा, दिक्कतें आएगी, उसको ओवरकम करके आपको परसिवियर करना पड़ेगा. कभी फेलियर आता है तो फेलियर से सीखना पड़ेगा. So all those things that you've written in the book, the piece, are very important. Profit. लोग कहते हैं कि जितना मैं MBA स्टूडेंट से बात करता हूँ कभी, तो मैं उनको एक सवाल पूछता हूँ कि भाई आपकी कंपनी में जितनी ज़्यादा प्रॉफिट हो वो अच्छा है. हाँ, बेहतर है, so long as it is earned without any breaking the law and all that. I said, is too much profit possible? They said, ये कैसे हो सकता है? Too much profit? ठीक है, मान गया. अब मैं बताता हूँ, आप सांस लेते हैं रोज, आपको लंग्स में ऑक्सीजन की ज़रूरत है. ऑक्सीजन कहाँ से आता है? हवा से आता है.
हवा से आता है.
हवा में कितना परसेंटेज है ऑक्सीजन? आंसर 20%. ऐसा आपको मैं प्योर 100% ऑक्सीजन दे दूँ,
अब ले ही नहीं पाओगे.
खत्म हो जाओगे. इट इज़ पॉसिबल टू गेट टू मच ऑफ द गुड थिंग. चावल और दाल खाना अच्छा है आपकी सेहत के लिए. चावल और दाल ही खिलाता रहूं तो आपकी तबीयत ठीक.
That's what I.
So too much profit can also be bad.
Too much profit.
Then people think profit के भी एक हद होना चाहिए. वो हद हम नहीं लगाएंगे ना, कोई और लगाएगा.
Sir, now I want to ask a fun question with you. Supposingly you were with Ratan Tata Sir on a standalone island, तो आप लोग दोनों क्या चीज पे डिस्कस कर रहे होते? There is nothing else for you to do. कौन से बिजनेस पे बात कर रहे होते? Yes, so many businesses.
I don't know what we would discuss, but very likely we would discuss the beauty of nature.
Okay, being there, you will be actually both being in present.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you don't want to discuss sales of trucks or steel or whatever. And you just enjoy the beauty of where you are. enjoy the present.
That's a fabulous answer, sir. To also, after this thoughtful conversation, pay my tribute to Sir Ratan Tata here. I mean, he was a person, a gem of a person, and we will all remember him for centuries for making a difference in the society, difference in economy.